The cameras flashed, the crowd froze. And just like that, Hollywood had a brand new obsession.
Oh, absolutely.
Imagine you borrow your ex's luxury Maybach. You decide to hide a surveillance bug under the driver's seat to get some leverage in this massively public, highly contentious divorce.
Right, which is already wild.
But then you make one fatal flaw. You accidentally record yourself installing the device. Welcome to Lisa Hochstein's 100 felony nightmare.
It's an unbelievable collision between reality TV and the actual criminal justice system.
Welcome to Starscope Report. Join Jordan and Jamie as we uncover Hollywood drama, music industry shakeups, and viral influencer scandals.
From red carpet surprises to social media controversies, we dive deep into the stories behind the fame.
And our mission for today's deep dive is to unpack this bizarre story that sounds exactly like a Hollywood thriller, but is, actually playing out right now in the Miami legal system.
Yeah, we're dissecting how easily accessible technology can turn a civilian into a potential felon overnight.
To get to the bottom of this, we've pulled a really diverse stack of sources. Entertainment sites like TMZ and Reality Blurb, mainstream outlets like The Independent, legal analysis from the George Law Firm, and honestly, the crown jewel of our stack today, the actual raw 7-page Miami Beach Police Department arrest warrant.
Which is just a fascinating read.
It really is. And I want to make this clear up front. To everyone listening, this isn't just about reality TV gossip.
No, not at all.
We are looking at the mechanics of digital forensics, prosecutorial strategy, and the severe consequences of crossing the line in a two-party consent state. So let's unpack this.
You'd think hiding a covert recording device requires some, James Bond-level expertise.
Right.
But the trail left behind in this case is astonishingly analog. According to the arrest warrant in March 2023, Lisa and her then-husband, Dr. Leonard Hochstein.
Everyone calls him Lenny.
Yeah, Lenny.
Yeah.
He's a prominent Miami plastic surgeon. So they're navigating this brutal divorce. And on March 10th, Lisa asks to borrow his silver 2023 Mercedes-Benz GLS 600 Maybach.
Which, by the way, is a vehicle that costs well over $200,000.
Oh, yeah, it's massive.
And her stated reason, according to the police report, was that she was thinking of buying one for herself and just wanted to test drive it.
So Lenny hands over the keys, gets the car back a couple of days later on March 12th, and just resumes his normal life.
Makes sense.
Then, on March 31st, he notices something completely out of place on the driver's seat floorboard.
Just sitting there.
Pretty much. He pulls out a physical device that has been completely wrapped in tape. It was clearly designed to be secured and hidden under the seat.
Okay, so Lenny immediately contacts his lawyer, who brings in a private investigator named Carlos De Verona.
Right.
And De Verona identifies this taped-up brick as a Black Box voice-activated digital audio recorder.
Which is, it's a simple battery-powered device you can just buy online.
Wow.
It sits dormant to save battery, and the moment it detects a voice breaking a certain decibel threshold, it wakes up, records the audio, and saves it to an internal flash drive.
That flash drive is what lands on the desk of Lieutenant Javier Fernandez at the Miami Beach Police Department. And this is really where the story pivots.
It totally shifts gears.
It stops being this, he said, she said, Bravo TV divorce argument and becomes a matter of undeniable digital evidence.
Exactly.
Because the police recovered 98 separate audio recordings from this device.
98.
And if you are going to plant a digital bug in someone's car, you would assume you'd operate in total silence.
You would hope so.
Instead, the very first file on the drive, labeled R00001, captures Lisa and her then-boyfriend, Jody Glidden, wrestling the device into place.
You literally hear them setting it up.
Yes. You hear Lisa asking for Adderall, and then the second file, R00002, captures a woman's voice just saying, done.
It's just wild.
Yeah.
But the forensic investigation went far beyond just hitting play on the existing audio files.
Oh, totally.
Detective Ricardo Arias was able to pull deleted files directly off the device's storage.
Okay, wait. One of those recovered files was titled Me and Lisa S., which captured Lisa and Jody engage in intimate activities.
Yep.
But I've always wondered about this. How do police just pull a deleted file? If I delete a photo from a USB drive, I just assume it's completely gone forever.
Most people do. But they don't realize that when you delete a file on a cheap flash drive or even a computer, the operating system doesn't actually erase the underlying data.
Really?
Yeah, it just deletes the pointer to the file in the directory. Think of it like tearing the chapter listing out of a book's table of contents.
Oh, I see.
The system now believes those pages are blank and available to be written over. but the ink is still on the pages.
Wow.
Until a brand new recording overwrites that specific sector of the flash drive, forensic software can just swoop in, read the raw data, and rebuild the file.
So by deleting a file of themselves, they essentially preserved a perfect timestamp of their physical possession of the device before it ever went into the Maybach.
Exactly. It's like trying to sneak into a secure building, but swiping your own personalized key card at the front door to get in.
The system just permanently logs your exact identity the moment the crime begins.
The digital footprint is just overwhelming. And to corroborate the device's presence, the police issued subpoenas to Amazon.
Oh, right, because they had to prove who bought it.
Right. And while Lisa's account showed nothing suspicious, Jody Glidden's Amazon history showed he purchased 2 of these exact black box recorders a few months prior, back in December 2022.
Oh, man.
They also subpoenaed American Express.
Wait, why AMX?
Because file R000040 on the device caught Lenny talking to his credit card company. Amex provided their own server-side recording of that customer service call, and the date and timestamps matched the hidden recorder perfectly.
The absurdity of buying a surveillance bug on Amazon Prime, leaving the receipt in your account history, and then recording yourself installing it.
I know.
It just completely dismantles any defense that some random third party planted it.
It does.
And because the evidence was so ironclad, it forced law enforcement to issue a formal arrest warrant. But if you think that's wild, wait till you hear about the massive legal threat she's facing later in this deep dive.
It really escalates.
But first, we have to look at how this transition from a private dispute to a criminal booking was actually handled.
We see this fascinating phenomenon here, where the ecosystem of reality television attempts to absorb the unyielding, rigid procedures of the criminal justice system.
It's so weird. In April 2026, Lisa arranges to voluntarily surrender to authorities in Miami.
Right.
Entertainment sites like TMZ immediately reported that she delivered one of the most flawless booking photos they'd seen in a while.
I mean, she walked into the facility fully camera ready.
Hair blown out, makeup immaculate, brows perfectly sculpted.
The cognitive dissonance is striking.
Yeah.
A defendant is walking into a correctional facility to be fingerprinted and booked on a severe felony charge.
Yeah.
And the primary operational concern appears to be ensuring the resulting mugshot looks aesthetically pleasing for the inevitable media cycle.
Well, her legal team, led by Jane Weintraub, had actually prearranged this surrender.
Oh, they planned it out.
Yeah, there was a judge's order explicitly stating she should be processed and released without undue delay on her own recognizance.
Meaning she didn't even need to see a judge first.
Right. The plan was to be in and out. But, the criminal justice system does not operate on a Hollywood production schedule.
No, it definitely doesn't.
She turned herself in around 9:45 in the morning. She was officially booked at 11:45 a.m.
Okay.
But she wasn't released until just before 5:00 p.m.
Oh, wow.
For nearly 6 hours, she sat alone in a cold holding cell at the Turner Guilford Night Correctional Center without any food.
And while she is sitting in that cell experiencing the very stark reality of the county jail system, the environment outside the facility turns into something resembling a red carpet event.
It was bizarre. Her Real Housewives of Miami co-stars, Alexia Napola and Adriana Demora, actually drove to the jail to wait for her release.
They're out there giving quotes to reporters, literally turning a state criminal proceeding into a paparazzi spectacle.
Another co-star, Gertie Abrera, took to social media to defend Lisa, posting in all caps, "What real man does this?" followed by a shrugging emoji.
They are actively attempting to reframe a state-issued criminal indictment as a storyline about Lenny being toxic.
Exactly.
Lisa's own PR statement leaned heavily into this narrative, too. She told Page Six, "I don't want to let anyone distract me from my big divorce case this month."
Right, like the criminal case is just a distraction.
Yeah, and she added, "I've heard nobody's been charged with eavesdropping in Miami history."
Which is just bold.
Her lawyers released a coordinated statement arguing that this matter is part of a contentious divorce proceeding and simply does not belong to criminal court.
It feels like they are treating the justice system like a Bravo producer.
They really are.
They're trying to control the edit of the storyline rather than fighting the actual legal statute. They want the public to view this as an ex-husband weaponizing the police department for leverage in civil court.
But the fatal flaw in that public relations strategy is that the state of Florida does not care about the optics of your divorce.
Nope.
The prosecutor's office operates strictly on the text of the statute.
And this brings us to the actual legal jeopardy, which is just staggering. The George law firm's analysis of this case really puts the threat into perspective.
It does.
Florida is a strict two-party consent state. I always assumed two-party consent just meant you couldn't publish or broadcast a recording without permission.
A lot of people think that.
But the statute literally criminalizes the physical act of hitting record if the other person doesn't know, regardless of what you do with the audio afterwards.
That is the core mechanism of the law. If you are going to intercept or record an oral communication, every single person involved in that conversation must explicitly consent. Period. If they do not, the mere act of capturing their voice is a third-degree felony. The law makes absolutely no exceptions for individuals going through a contentious divorce who feel they need to gather intelligence.
Wait, Lenny is a prominent plastic surgeon. If he is taking calls in his car on his commute, he is undoubtedly discussing patient files and medical procedures.
Oh, constantly.
Doesn't that trigger a T?
It absolutely does. The hidden recorder didn't just capture ambient noise or Lenny talking to his kids. He was communicating with his medical practice and his patients.
That is so bad.
IP is the federal law protecting medical privacy. By bugging that specific vehicle, she didn't just violate state consent laws, she inadvertently captured federally protected medical data.
Wow.
Which introduces a whole new layer of potential liability beyond just the state eavesdropping charges.
If you're loving these Hollywood twists and how they crash into the legal system, make sure you're subscribed because we've got even crazier stories ahead.
We really do.
So our title for this deep dive references a 100 felony nightmare. The police recovered 98 individual reportings. Is this like getting 98 speeding tickets all at once just because you were speeding down a really long highway?
That's a good question.
Like, couldn't her legal team just argue that she made one mistake, planted one device, and it should just be considered one single overarching charge?
Actually, that speeding ticket analogy doesn't quite work in the eyes of the law.
Why not?
Because speeding is one continuous action. You press the pedal and you stay in a state of speeding. The black Vox recorder, however, operates differently.
Because it's voice activated.
Exactly. It sits dormant, hears a conversation, turns on, records the interaction, and turns off. 2 hours later, a different conversation happens. It turns on, records, and turns off again.
Oh, I get it. So instead of speeding down a highway, it's more like running 98 distinct stop signs over the course of a month.
That is the exact legal mechanism at play. Under Florida statute, section 934.03, each individual interception constitutes a separate, distinct violation.
Which is terrifying.
And this gives prosecutors immense power through a tactic known as stacking charges.
What does stacking charges actually achieve for a prosecutor?
Well, the justice system operates on efficiency. Prosecutors rarely want to go through the time and expense of a full trial.
Right.
So when a prosecutor has 98 separate recordings, they can charge each one individually as a third-degree felony. Each count carries a maximum sentence of up to 5 years in prison.
Up to 5 years. Times 98. That's nearly 500 years of potential exposure.
Even though sentences are generally served concurrently, meaning simultaneously, the sheer mathematical weight of the charges creates an astronomical trial penalty.
That makes sense.
A defense attorney looks at 98 felony counts and has to advise their client that if a jury finds them guilty, the judge has the discretion to impose a life-altering sentence.
Yeah.
The volume of charges is deliberately used to create unbearable pressure, forcing the defendant to accept a plea deal to a lesser charge just to make the risk of decades in prison go away.
I want to push back on the intent here, though.
Okay.
What if she genuinely believed Lenny was hiding marital assets, or she felt physically or emotionally threatened, and she was purely using this device to protect herself?
People argue that a lot.
Doesn't the law factor in why she committed the act?
The legal framework in a two-party consent state separates the act from the motive.
Really?
Yeah, the George law firm analysis emphasizes that unauthorized recordings are intrinsically illegal. Even if your intent is purely defensive or you are trying to uncover financial fraud in your marriage, the law views the unauthorized recording as a crime in and of itself.
That's harsh.
And any evidence you gather illegally is generally inadmissible in civil court anyway.
Wow.
So you completely destroy your standing in criminal court without actually helping your civil divorce case.
It is a total lose-lose scenario, and it is happening right as her entire personal and professional life is fundamentally shifting.
Oh, absolutely.
To really grasp the gravity of these 98 counts, we have to look at the broader context of Lisa's life outside of this specific arrest warrant.
Because the stakes here extend far beyond a mugshot and a delayed release from the county jail.
Exactly. Looking at her background from Wikipedia and TV Insider, Lisa has endured a grueling decade in the public eye.
She really has.
Early in her marriage to Lenny, they documented their agonizing fertility struggles on television. 3 miscarriages, 4 unsuccessful IVF attempts.
That's incredibly difficult.
They eventually had to use a surrogate to have their 2 children. Processing that kind of profound emotional trauma while cameras are rolling is incredibly heavy.
And then, in 2022, after 13 years of marriage, they go through this brutal split.
Yeah, they're fighting over a palatial Star Island mansion in Miami, which she eventually vacates to move into a 5,000-square-foot condo.
She even attempted to pivot professionally as a direct result of the divorce.
Right. In 2023, she launched an AI-powered divorce services company called Splitwell.
Which is, you can't make this up.
She told the press she was trying to turn her pain into purpose, creating a platform to help other people navigate the logistical nightmare of separating from a spouse.
The irony there is inescapable. A public figure who launched a tech company designed to help people manage their divorces smoothly is now facing nearly 100 felony charges due to her own disastrous divorce tactics.
To compound the pressure, her primary platform is on shaky ground. Bravo recently put the Real Housewives of Miami on pause due to reported low ratings.
Which is not great timing.
Lisa took to Instagram to insist the show isn't canceled, saying, "Miami isn't going anywhere, but the timing is brutal." Facing potentially catastrophic legal bills while your primary television income stream is frozen creates immense financial and psychological strain.
It really does. This specific case serves as a massive reality check regarding the technology we all have access to.
We live in an era where technology has vastly outpaced the average person's understanding of the law. You don't need a contact in the intelligence community to get surveillance gear. High-tech voice recorders, GPS trackers, and hidden cameras are available on Amazon with next-day delivery for $50. Anyone can click Add to Cart.
People frequently purchase these devices or even just use the voice memo app on their smartphones under the guise of self-protection.
Oh, all the time.
An employee thinks their boss is acting unethically, so they hit record during a one-on-one meeting. A spouse suspects infidelity and slips an iPad recording audio into a living room.
But if you live in a strict 2-party consent state like Florida, California, or Pennsylvania, those older analog state laws will not protect you just because you feel victimized or justified.
They won't.
What seems like a clever, empowering way to gather evidence can instantly classify you as a felon.
The law does not grant immunity for vigilantism and domestic disputes.
All right, to recap the wild narrative we've unpacked today. We started with a taped-up Black Vox audio recorder hidden under the seat of a 2023 Maybach.
Yep.
We explored how undeniable digital forensics, specifically the recovery of deleted files and Amazon purchase histories, forced law enforcement to intervene in a messy celebrity split.
It's all in the details.
We analyzed the cognitive dissonance of treating a 6-hour stint in a cold jail cell like a red carpet event.
Flawless mugshot and all.
And we broke down the terrifying mechanism of Florida's 2-party consent laws, where 98 individual recordings equate to a potential 100 felony nightmare, giving prosecutors the leverage to mathematically crush a defendant into a plea deal.
It is a staggering fall from grace and a very dark reflection of how we use technology when we feel desperate.
Before we sign off, I want to leave you with a final thought to ponder.
No?
We spent this entire deep dive talking about someone intentionally planting a surveillance device. But consider the environment you are sitting in right now.
This is scary.
As smart devices, dash cams with interior audio recording, always listening home assistants, and AI-powered transcription tools become completely embedded in the background of our lives, how many of us are unwittingly committing wiretapping felonies every single day without even realizing it?
That's a great question.
If your vehicle's dash cam records your passenger's phone call without their explicit consent in a strict 2-party state, are you committing a crime every time you give someone a ride?
The legal gray area of privacy is shrinking rapidly. Stay tuned and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss what's coming next.
You've been listening to Starscope Report, where Jordan and Jamie uncover the stories shaping Hollywood, music, and pop culture. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that keep the stars shining.